talking about Wemby had 50 points last night. He's an amazing player. But he is averaging 8.5 threes a game, where he's virtually unstoppable 10 feet in. But that's NBA basketball is about mathematics and equations. NFL football has analytics, but it's about the individual skill of the player. You coach Lamar Jackson different than Jared Goff. You coach a sideline receiver different than Julian Edelman, a slot receiver. In football, pro football, you find out what your players can do, and that becomes your offense and defense. In the NBA, everybody plays the same. Go shoot threes. Yeah, but I'm 7'4" and dominate inside. Go shoot threes. So Wemby's rebounding stats are down because he's way outside. And I understand it, but I think in the regular season, it gets boring. It's just aesthetically, it's just all threes and dunks. I mean, can you imagine in the NFL? Think about this. If analytics said the offense is tush push or bombs, no more screens, no more underneath, just tush push and bombs is the way to win. Would it be as interesting to watch? No. And the NBA's ratings right now are in the tank, and they've been on a downward trend as the league becomes increasingly threes and dunks. And I don't mind Steph Curry shooting threes. But when you take a 7'4" guy and say, yeah, just go shoot threes. I mean, Anthony Davis a couple years ago started shooting too many threes. He went back inside. I thought last year he was a top 3 player in the league. I don't want to see 7'4" guys jacking up threes. I like the layering. I like the layering of football. I like screen passes. I like the tush push. I like over the top. Kansas City now, they went 2 years after trading Tyreek Hill.
Okay, he's going on a football rant now. We're going to talk basketball. We're going to talk about Wembanyama. Okay, listen. I understand what he's saying, and I get it. I made a whole video about all of these threes and stuff like that. Threes or dunks, and that's all it is. So I get it. But I already unpacked that, so I'm going to leave that. If you want to go check that out, please, by all means, do. It's like a first things first video, so go check that out. But, like, we can't have this guy score his career high, 50 points, one of the youngest players to ever put up 50, go 50% from 3, 8 for 16, and be like, this is a bad thing. This is not a bad thing. And it opens up the entire floor. When you are as dominant as Wembanyama, by the basket, and you can shoot threes? Well, like, what are we talking about? That makes you even more dominant. That opens up everything. There's nowhere to stop. There's nowhere to contain, right? Kind of like the whole idea where it's like you can't give Steph space because if you give him any type of open look, he'll drain the three. The one thing is if you kind of pick him up soon because he's not as big and strong and he can't blow by you. He's obviously a very gifted ball handler and stuff like that, but that's not his strength necessarily relative to his three-point shooting. You can kind of do that. With Wembanyama, it's like if you give him space, he knocks down the three. If you kind of close in on him, he can blow by you. If you try to put a body on him down low, like he becomes literally by definition unstoppable. He won't have a weakness. So yes, making sure that he is an established threat from the three makes him significantly better. It makes him transcendent. There's a reason why we're talking about Wembanyama, because if he was just unstoppable from down low, he would be great, and he would be an all-time great, without a doubt. He could be like Shaq, obviously just built differently, but it would be very Shaq-like. Now you add the three and the handles and him to be able to actually like drive and dunk and not just kind of one dribble and dunk when you're just 2 feet away from the rim. That makes you legendary. That has the potential to be historic. The question is, how high is Wembanyama's ceiling? Through the roof. Through the roof when you can also make threes. Absolutely, undeniably, to Mars and beyond. Wembanyama has the ability and has the potential, the skill set and the physicality to literally become the GOAT. There is not a doubt in my mind. Will he be lucky enough to stay healthy? Will he have the right teams around him, the right coaching? Those are all question marks and will be out of his control for the most part. But as long as he stays healthy, as long as he gets lucky with some team construction, just like every other great before him has had, he will absolutely be there. I mean, this guy is unstoppable. And to have him also go 8 for 16 from threes. Now, 16 is a lot of threes. That is, right? Those are Steph Curry levels of threes. So I do get it. But if you're making 50% of them, then it's like, how are you going to stop him? Seriously, how are you, and you're going to tell him not to do it? I mean, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make any sense. None. I mean, that's a chunk of your points right there. So I don't understand why this game has to be a representation. We can talk about the problem with the ratings, and we can talk about the problem with all the threes that are being shot. I get it. But it doesn't have to be in terms of like, look what Wembanyama did. Now let's talk about the problems of the NBA. That doesn't make sense. And use Wembanyama now. I'm not saying he's the face of it, but he's the face of it for this segment. And that doesn't land for me personally. There's nothing not exciting watching Wembanyama put up 50 and knock down all those threes. I think it's actually pretty extraordinary, quite frankly. And it shouldn't necessarily be pulled down. The ratings are low for a handful of reasons, quite frankly. One, football is king. That is the most obvious thing ever. Football is absolute king. And now when you have games on Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, all the time, and now college has gone through the roof now. I mean, college football was always popular, but it's got even more popular now that they've kind of made the moves that they've made from a business standpoint, having other teams play each other, and it's more competitive. Those ratings have continued to rise. That alone is going to take away views from basketball. I feel it. I also run a football channel, and I'm like, I watch a ton of football games, and I'm like, I only have the energy to watch so many basketball games. It's hard for me to be like, I can't wait for this third game of the season in the NBA because it doesn't matter. If Wembanyama scored 50 points or got blown out by 50, it doesn't actually really matter for the Spurs right now. It has no true implications for the Spurs. Having the Spurs play the Wizards, it does not matter because that's also the problem having an 82-game season, and I've been railing on that for a long time now. And I get it, like it's hard, but when you have that and there's such a high injury risk with basketball, you never know when a star is playing, and I'm sympathetic to that as well. This isn't me kind of calling out the whole load management and stuff like that. I get it from someone who's been injured so many times, but it is the problem when you have such a long season, 82 games and all of that, it becomes a problem. And again, the Warriors had a huge game going up against the Mavs, big time. Steph going on a 10-0 run was really, really exciting. But in the grand scheme of things, in the playoffs, championship contender, it means nothing. It truly means nothing. The Bills are going to be playing the Chiefs. We could say it doesn't mean something. It doesn't mean anything, but it does. If the Bills win, they are right there. And they own the tiebreaker to get the number 1 seed. The implications are huge. If they beat the Chiefs, it signals we can beat the Chiefs. We face them in the playoffs, we can win. Like it has huge implications, huge implications. So that game is can't miss TV. If you're a football fan, a basketball fan, I could skip the Spurs versus the Wizards. Yeah, okay. I could skip the Lakers versus the Grizzlies. Yeah, okay. You could skip it. There's just too many skippable games. That's just the nature of the NBA. You can resolve that by getting less games, which I don't think will ever happen because money's too much involved. You can say, well, if we have them shoot less threes, I don't know, these guys could be doing double backflips and doing some of the I don't think it's not going to matter. The problem is that these other games, the other leagues are too popular with too much of scarcity involved. So there's just more urgency in every single game. That's something that basketball will never be able to compete with, just like baseball can't. So the way how you resolve that is by leaning into what makes basketball special, and what makes basketball special? These big, massive forces of nature. Like Wembanyama. People are not tuning in. My dad, my mom, whoever, if I get them to watch a game with me, a basketball game, what's going to make them watch a game is Wembanyama putting up 50 points. Wembanyama being the freak that he is, the beast that he is. Not him just playing good fundamental basketball and him putting up 28 points and the Spurs winning. Like, that's not driving views either. So that may have worked in the 90s or something, maybe, right? But like, we live in a different world. And I'm not going to act like I have all the solutions of how to make basketball more popular. I think it's just embedded in what basketball is. And you're either going to be a huge basketball fan and want to watch all these games, or you're not. And if you're like me, who's a big, passionate fan about multiple sports, baseball, basketball, football, whatever, I have to spread my time. I have to pick and choose. And I know during this part of the season, my mind is more football oriented. I'm more focused on what's going on in football. And if I have to choose between my energy and games, it's like, I'm going to lean football right now. If I have to pick between watching the Spurs versus the Wizards or the Bills versus the Chiefs, I am going to pick it could be the Lakers versus the Golden State Warriors. It could be Wembanyama versus Steph. That's a really fun and exciting game. But like, if I don't have the energy to watch it, or I can't watch it, and I got to go watch a football game, I want to watch a football game. I'll watch the highlights. I'll watch the extended 20-minute highlights of this basketball game. Show me the meat and potatoes. I don't need to sit there and watch them shooting free throws. Like, you want to talk about bad product? Shooting free throws is a bad product. Sitting there and watching these guys shoot free throws all day, every day. Now I'm going to actually really go on a rant. All the stoppage that they have is insane. My God, Steph Curry, I did watch that game against the Mavs. Steph Curry knocks down a huge shot, and he's screaming in the camera, and it was so exciting. I'm like, oh my God, I feel my heart beating. I'm like, dude, this is epic. And then within a second, it's like a McDonald's commercial. And I'm like, you didn't even let me sit in this moment. The crowd's going wild. The players are going wild. You see Luka's face sulk. You see Clay's face shook. I want to live in that moment. And you immediately take me out of it and put me in a commercial. Who wants to see that? That's a bad product. That's not entertaining. Let me enjoy this moment. They've been doing this for years. That one game when Damian Lillard kept sending them into overtime in the playoffs, I'll never forget. It was such an insane, epic moment. It was like, oh my God, we're going to overtime again in the playoffs. This is so huge. And it was like one of the craziest shots I've seen. And then immediately commercial. It was like within a second. And I was like, I could not even enjoy this moment. That's bad product. So don't just blame people for shooting threes as to why the ratings are going down. This is a fundamental problem that the NBA itself as a business is doing. Cut the fouls, cut the stoppage, cut the TV timeouts. Let us actually be with the players longer and the game and the crowd. Let us feel the crowd more. Do better from a audio visual standpoint. Let us feel the intensity of the moment, of the crowd, of the players. That's going to get you watching more, making us feel like we're actually part of something, that we're actually watching and witnessing something. That's going to help. Not telling Wembanyama to shoot less threes. Wembanyama shoots less threes, more people are going to watch the game? That doesn't make sense. Makes no sense to me. None. Zero. Make a better product and people watch. Have a better experience. People will watch. Let's not have teams shoot 25 free throws. I'd rather see a team shoot 25 threes than 25 free throws. Because Colin said, do you want to watch the tush push, which is what the Eagles do for those of you who maybe don't know, which is essentially a QB sneak, or just, long shots? The real question is, do you want to watch teams that shoot, kick extra points all day? Is that what you want to see? Because that's what free throws are. Just watching teams shoot free throws all day is the same thing as just field goals. Football would hurt drastically if there was 20 field goal attempts a game. That's not even up for debate. That's where you got to look. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Wembanyama, his ceiling, I guess? We talked about a few things here. Wembanyama's ceiling, why basketball is kind of hurting from a standing standpoint. Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.